Hello, welcome to step 6 of the M1070 trailer, the M1000. Hoping we can get through this one quick. Not a lot of parts, little tricky, just a tiny bit tricky. So let's start with the covers that are eventually going to go on. We want these parts to, these pieces M31 or Q31 to sit and fit on there and dry. So we'll start with that. So just these thankfully don't have a whole lot of parts to worry about. Just glue those on like so. Now here's the deal, these large I'm going to call them covers. When I was cleaning them off, you have your points, but also look for any flash that may be on here. There's a little bit here. Apparently when Hobby Boss was making these, the flash can get available on these larger complicated three-dimensional parts. It's not necessarily bad. The flash that I ran across was very light, but it's there and it's better to deal with it now than later. So I'm just gluing these on, and I would say at this point in time just be aware of orientation. Shouldn't be like last step where things can get out of hand fast. Make sure that things are pointed the right way. It's not really going to be, you're not going to be able to glue it on backwards without major surgery that you don't have to do, obviously. So get the glue on, get the part down there. Those are done. Now here's what's going on this side, and this is special. These control rods go through to control all these. So you've got the back two to here, the front two to here, and then on these two you stack these middle ones as well. So one rod, two rod, two rod, two rod, two rod, one rod, one rod. We can do it. Shouldn't be too hard. Let me show you. Look at your orientation. For example, Q21 in the back, and don't mix these up, they're all different lengths. Goes on like so, and like so. I say that like it went on easy. It did not. There we go. And this one right here kind of pulls. Now actually I did that wrong. So in the don't do that. Remember I was telling you last time that would be kind of a pain, and we get a premonition for that here coming up. Okay, so it came sideways and went in. All right, so if by some sad chance part comes off, can be done like that. Don't let it do that. You don't want to mess with that. So looking at these, when you're putting these on, the long rod, and then there is a little bit of a lip at the bottom that goes okay, that's good to note. That goes down, but these middle ones have to go on first, and then these end ones capture and push them down. So dealing with parts Q22, they go on in the middle with this lip edge going up towards the, what I'm going to call the front, which is the part that has this scallop here, rather than the back, which flares out. Okay, I'm just going to call this front, but this part goes on back here like so, up here with the, and apparently it's difficult. And when you're cleaning these rods off from the attachment points, just be aware, yeah, they're very delicate, so it's going to be kind of a pain. So here's how it is. That little lip is up, that one is over there. And to have that lip up, it has to be oriented with this kind of long paddle part pointing forward, the lip pointing up. This has no lip on it at all. just orientation is important with this as well. And this isn't the easiest thing to get to work on here. Don't force it. Don't bend stuff and break stuff. It's better to put that on. If it seems like with putting this together, the front end is easier to start with and then come back and put these on for whatever reason. But now we've got this on. Okay, so we'll start it with these front ones. These Q52s do not have any lips, so to speak, on them or anything like that. They're flat here and flat here. You want to put the shorter end rod this way, longer end rod this way, like so. And if I can get it, like so. The problem is my fingers are too fat to fit next to the hull. Same thing with this side. Short on that end, long on this end. Just make sure those are on there. Okay. Now with these do the longer paddle types do have a lip on it that goes down on this end right here and then gets hooked up there. Like so. And you just want, there's going to be a little bit protruding. That's what you want for the next step, which is going to be interesting. So I'm going to pick this up, and I'm being careful now because you don't want to grab the rods and knock them off after you got them on. And sometimes they're not going to quite fit. So you've got to, yep, and there it goes. So you might have to put your finger on one end while you work on another. So there we go. Now just to show you how it works, now all of them turn at the same time, but without the tops on, don't get too excited. So the key part in the next step is, oh, and I grabbed one on that side right there, doggone it all, is that, there, all of them are on. Key part is that these are the covers. However, the instructions don't sit and say, oh no, don't glue anything. However, you don't want to glue anything. You don't want to glue these rods. You want them to pivot in there. You want them to pivot around the center point. So all you can glue are these little lines right here, and I would say that you could glue the very center parts in there, but I wouldn't glue them. All you can glue to hold them on are these two little parts on each side, right here and here, and that's all the glue I'd put on. And then you have to snake this through like so, and then orient it so that it is actually on there the way that you want. And you've got to hope that it's actually touching other plastic so that it glues, because I've noticed that it doesn't always touch. because there's just enough of a little pivot here and there. See that? Push that up. So now this isn't on. So instead of tightening everything down as soon as you put that on, take the next one, again, same thing. And then you just kind of work your way through. This is not well designed because this needs to go on there and then swing around. It can be done as I'm showing, but it is not simple or intuitive, is how I'm going to put it. Things will flop around and fall apart, apparently. There we go. So with a little patience, I've got this initial middle part on. Now again, I want this to pivot, and there is some contact in there now. I'm going to carefully put a little bit of glue there and there and hope that that will connect without gluing anything on, as far as on the contact points. So this one is going to have the same problem because it's got this large piece here. So I'm going to do like I did before, just if nothing else, this gets the plastic ready for glue. Snake this through if I can. And again, like I said, this isn't really easy. This will take a little maneuvering and hopefully not too many tears to get this into place. And I'm not worried about that part coming off right now. I'm worried about trying to, there, get that on there. Now that I'm coming in for that, I want to make sure that this part is in again on top. Like that. Now I can turn this and start to get that on there, just like that. Now I've snugged in, and I'm sure I've snugged in those. The front and back aren't done. They'll swing out right now. But that gets me my two middle ones, which are going to be my two hardest ones to get on. Now I'm just pressing this as best I can. Now I don't know if a future step is going to make this more sandwichy or whatever, but I'm worried about this staying together. Again, just a little tiny sliver of glue right in there just to glue those parts. Now I'll deal with the front again. This piece right here. Got that one on. Now I've got to swing this one back around. As you can see, that was attached on the other one. That was just pure luck. But be aware of where your arms are going. as it were. And this kind of makes contact and kind of doesn't, and it's sandwiched, and I'm just going to have to do my best. I'm just sliding a little bit in there, a little bit of glue, and calling it as good as I can. I mean, this is kind of crazy the way that this is set up. Check and make sure as time goes on that your parts are still touching, still gluing together, because it looks like they do, to one degree or another, push each other out of the way. I mean, this thing is wobbly. And finally, on this end, now if these could be glued together, these arm pieces right here could be glued together with these in there without getting any glue down that center part at all, this would be great. But I don't see how without some other miracle. So as I've done that as well, that and I'm not sure why, but this one is a little tighter, little bendier. And I'm going to try and swivel this in sideways. Okay, I've got that on. Little glue, again like the other ones in there, just a little bit there and a little bit there. This is really asking for it. I cannot guarantee by any stretch that this is going to work. Either A, that it's going to glue only that, yeah, got to be careful. You don't want it to mess with anything else that's already in there. In other words, you can't be too tough. And it feels like something glued itself down in there. That something is not free moving. This is pretty tight. Either that or it's supposed to be this tight, but this feels really tight compared to what I was feeling before. So it can be that just getting these plates to hold together is getting some glue down that shaft on any one. And it could be these two end ones because these are just difficult. Now I know what this is going to do. This is going to go on and hold this in like so. And this doesn't go this way, this goes underneath like that. But even with this, the way that it is, all I can say is you need some glue holding that together so that these top pieces right here, like M3, M2, and R33 and R34, so that these don't accidentally pop off and swivel around. All of this stuff kind of sort of packs together, but the way that this goes, this is a little disconcerting. I'm gonna try with a different one. Go with the front, this here. So this part here goes on top of that part, the cylinder and the surround, and it's supposed to stay like this. It's not supposed to bend down. The glue is still setting, but these tabs are also supposed to fit on there to help center everything. Like so. And this one actually fits pretty well. Not too bad. It's on the posts and that. So what I'm going to do now that I've got that on is I'm going to put the glue on from the bottom where this goes together right here, where the top and the bottom come. You can see on this one, here's the tab here and the tab here. So I'm putting the glue right at that intersection and letting the capillary action go in there. And then I'm also, at the same time, taking and putting glue right in here so that I'm gluing this piece right to these edges all around. So this is going to strengthen the hull and hold everything together right there. And just to make sure that that stays that way, I'm going to take some tape. There it is. Some of my tape. Take a piece. I'm gonna hold it together. That looked horrible. That doesn't look tight at all. There. So that should, in theory, solidify all of this and make it really nice. And again, this orientation, this piece in the back, but you need to orient this to fit because the fat tab is on this side and the skinny tab is on this side. All right. Do the next one. Just kind of get that glue in there. Now the nice thing is that looking at it in the way that it is, it's staying together. I don't need to tape it. This is together. Next, wide, narrow, wide, narrow. This way it goes on. Wide, narrow. Fits right on here without a problem. You'll notice that there's a little bit of a tilt to this. And I think it's meant to put pressure down on this whole stack. But I don't think it does quite what it thinks it does. But anyways, do the same thing that we did with the others. Glue in there to get that tab down. Glue in there to get that tab down. And then glue there and glue here. How's that holding? I'm going to put a little tape on that one just because. There we go. Like so. That's all holding together. Now we'll deal with the troubled one. So this goes on by tucking under here and tabbing there. So the very first thing that I want to do is make sure that that tabs in. And that's going to take a little work. It does get tight. And it's supposed to, from the way that it feels, yeah, it's in there, is it's supposed to slot in down here as well in front, but it's not doing it for me here. So I'm going to try and pull this out and show you. So it's also supposed to slot right in here and right in here, but it's not quite doing it. And I'm thinking these are just a touch too large. So I'm just going to thin these down a little bit because I want this to fit right. I want this to be rock solid, because you don't want this coming apart later. If this comes apart later, you're tearing the whole model apart, and you don't want to do that. So I've thinned that down. Now I'm going to do it again, tuck that under, and it does have a bit of a positive feel to it when it goes in there. So it should feel like it's clicking and grabbing, because it's slotting inside here. It's slotting into and sitting on top of a piece there, and then this is going in, and that's slotted down right in there. Now that once I trimmed that up, part of what is the problem with this is that this is sandwiching a little bit harder. You got to kind of compress it a little bit to get it to sit right. But if that gives you an idea of what it looks like, then I'm going to glue it like the others. Glue that back there. I'm going to run glue along this here. And then if you're feeling spicy, and I'm feeling spicy, go in with the glue and get that front lock where that went in there. Now, get this side here. This side here. Like so, like so. Now I'm going to test and see how does that feel. That feels pretty rock solid. Now I am not putting any glue in here on these pieces. I'm letting those all move freely. Is this still moving freely? Sort of. There might be a little glue in there. I'm doing this to hopefully keep that going. And I'm going to re-glue this, or re-tape that because it came down. So, at this point in time, I'm also going to look and make sure that I haven't damaged any of these detail parts that we put on last time that I was talking about, because smooshing this all together might damage those. Make sure all my linkages at this point are correct. Go and check this side as well. Everything looks good. We did the test side to side, front, back, front, back. I'm going to leave it in a neutral pose in the middle just in case it does end up gluing. Then at least it's not like skewing one way or the other, whether I like it or not. That is step 6. It's a little screwy, but that's what you got to do to get it done. See you for step 7.